Welcome to GC Cars. My name is Eric.
And I'm Jesse.
And this is the Mazda Miata.
Am I really big? Or is this miniature?
It's cute. Sorry. I reviewed the Mazda Miata.
You just lost another sub.
As a hardtop 2 years ago, and I had multiple complaints about calling it cute. So worry not, we are adaptable. I have the thesaurus open here, and I got all the synonyms for the word we shall not name. For the other C word, not that one. So this adorable car is we're going to test today because, well, we're going to test AMGs, Camaros, Mustangs, all the fun stuff for the summer, and we need a reference. I have driven the Miata, you have not.
I have not.
And you can't test cars without driving the Miata because it's a benchmark of vehicles. So we're gonna do that today.
And we got the soft top.
We got the soft top.
The fun top.
The fun top, exactly.
The only top that's coming off today.
The only top that's coming off today.
Sorry, ladies. He's single, by the way.
Anyhow, do we want to talk about the exterior?
Yes. Well, what's the color called?
So this charming vehicle is colored in Soul Crystal Red Metallic, one of the best colors in the world. I love this red. It looks great.
I mean, overall, there's not a lot to say. Like, it's a Miata, right?
It's delightful, yeah.
Yeah, it's delightful. It hasn't been fully refreshed, so it's still...
Exactly. It's a design that's been around, but I think everybody generally agrees it's like a little mean up front looking, but overall very well proportioned. And we got the sport package, which gives us these BBS wheels.
Big fan.
Brembo brakes. Agreed. They look very nice. We have a super long dash to ax ratio. That's a solid foot. Right here, as you've already mentioned, we got a soft top. I'm going to talk about that bad boy later on. And then, well, it's a two-door coupe.
Not a lot to work with here.
There's not a lot of sheet metal to talk about.
No.
It's a very rare kind of, vehicle for these days. You don't really have a lot of roadsters like this around anymore. And you got the iconic taillights. I think, though,
it works.
Even though it is quite pleasant to look at, I like it. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And people generally really like it and look at it too.
What do you say we slip a disc and get in this car?
Yeah, yeah. We'll see about that, eh? I'm 23, by the way. And I feel like I'm 53 when I get in here. There we go. All right, inside the little car that could. We don't mean that as a negative way, by the way. It's just very, it's very small.
I was saying to Eric earlier, this car makes you feel old getting into it, but it makes you feel young once you're driving it.
Yeah, and honestly, like being in here, it is very no frills kind of style.
Very no frills.
But I like it. I think first of all, like material-wise, all the important parts, even in this mid-trim GS-P, are nice. We have some leathers here. This is leather.
This is hard plastic.
This is very hard plastic.
And this is obviously very...
Yeah, I do love this though. I think this is really cool. The body-colored kind of like plastic. It's better than like a harsh plastic on there. If you step up to the top trim, you do get a little bit more leather up here, for example. But overall, this is very driver focused. It is very narrow. We have with the sport package, these optional Recaro seats.
Which are nice.
I think they're very comfortable.
Pretty firm, but...
yeah, very firm. You're definitely in your spot. I do find them a little hot, like in the summers, because there's like a lot of heat just accumulates
100%.
on here.
100%.
But I don't think they can really do much against that. We do have our manual climate, no automatic. I don't mind it. I'm top down most of the time anyway.
Got heated seats, which we don't need now because it's hot as hell.
I actually used them this morning.
Wow.
I actually used them this morning because I got down to like 19. Yeah, storage is a thing though in this.
I mean, that's like good for like a pack of gum.
Yeah, maybe two. So I have a parking permit and a pack of gum in this one. And then we have a fairly generous storage in the back for Miata. We do not have another glove box. This is where you can store stuff. We have two cup holders that are removable, littered throughout the interior.
Two USBs, which I find kind of odd that there's no USB-C, but...
Yeah, it's just probably designed before. When did USB-C become a thing? I don't actually
Recently.
know. Yeah, this might be, is this like a 2016-ish kind of thing?
So this has wired CarPlay, but wireless is an option.
Yes, so wired Android Auto, wired CarPlay, but wireless Apple CarPlay is in the top trim. No wireless Android Auto, at least according to the configurator. So who knows what's the case in the end. I mean, the infotainment is...
What in the 2015 is this?
It's a tiny
It is kind of small and dinky.
It is very small. It is a touchscreen when you stopped. And if you go into Android Auto, it's not a touchscreen anymore. It's a little finicky to use with your little dial. I just put on a bit of navigation. I put on my music, honestly.
It does what it needs to do.
I agree. And even the speaker system in here, I think is very good. It's good enough to overpower the wind noises.
Which we'll talk about later.
Which we'll talk about later. And Probably the most important part, like driving position wise, I find it really nice. Pedal position is great for heel and towing if I want to do that. Our shifter is just very nice. So of course we're going to talk about that later on. Manual handbrake, just as God intended. And a couple of analog gauges in front of us.
No frills.
No frills.
If you're a big person, you're not going to want to drive this car.
Oh God, no.
If you're like over 6 feet, it's going to be tough.
Oh yeah, like it's going to be actually like really tough. And of course, because this is so small,
This is cool.
putting up the roof takes no time. That's it. And
Really
if you-
awesome.
If you want to take it down, done. That's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
It's really cool. Let's keep the roof down and hit the road. How about that?
Yes. Speaking of wind noise.
All right, out in the Miata, are you ready for topless fun?
Topless fun is always
Topless
good
fun.
for me. I mean,
Of course.
don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, not a perfect launch, but whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh.
There we go. Let's go. All right. Probably want to slow it down a little for audio. Of
Yeah.
course, we had to have the top down because I mean you can't have a convertible and not use the top.
We can't be committing sins here.
Exactly.
You already called the car cute. That's enough.
I called it delightful. Okay. So this Mazda Miata is powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated inline 4, producing 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque. And the great thing about it is, peak torque is at 4,000 RPM. The peak horsepower right at the red line at 7,000 RPM. So this is a car that wants to be revved out, right?
100%.
It's not like you peak at like 4,500 and then you're like, got to shift up. This one, it goes and goes and goes and goes.
There we go.
Woo! And of course we have the 6-speed manual. You can get it with an automatic, but just don't.
No.
That defeats the whole purpose of the car.
I mean, even me, I'm an automatic driver, but like you can't get this car in automatic.
It's wrong, right?
No hate to anyone out there who has one.
Yeah.
It's just probably more fun in manual.
Yeah, I mean the topless part will probably still be a good time, but and like I said, the pedal position is great. You can downshift easy, you can heel toe downshift. I say as I fuck it up completely. But no, this is just a fun car to drive. It's just a fun car to drive.
And it's not one of those cars that's overly powered. I mean, 0 to 60, 5.7 seconds, so you're not gonna win races.
No.
But it's not what it's for. This is just, you're looking for an engaging, it's like an oversized go-kart. Again, I'm sure I'm gonna get hate for saying that.
That's honestly, that's an actually really good comparison though, because that's what it feels like, because you can just kind of send it everywhere. And because it's not super fast, it's not super loud, you can literally send it everywhere and nobody will bat an eye on it. You do need to shift around a little bit if you go uphill, of course, because peak torque and horsepower is so high. But this is a great like back to basics car. Like it is, if I had to choose one car for someone to learn how to drive, like performance drive, I would always choose the Miata.
Which is what I'm doing today.
Exactly, which is what we're doing today, yeah. I mean, you're gonna drive later, but you haven't driven a manual on the road yet, you said, right?
For 5 minutes in my whole life, probably.
Yeah, so and that's probably when we can talk about how this, I'm gonna spoil it, this manual's great. The short throws, it's just very satisfying. And it's still fairly forgiving. It's not like I had an i30N in Germany once and that gave me nightmares, so this is much more pleasant.
Is that the one you stalled 3 times in one light?
Yes, that's the one I stalled 3 times in one light and everybody got upset because it was rush hour traffic and they couldn't gas past me, and since then I'm really much traumatized about manual transmission. But that aside, I love them. And yeah, add to that just driving dynamics is the suspension is super soft. Like, it's fun though.
But over bumps?
I mean, it's not the most
Forgiving.
It's not the most forgiving. You do feel like there's a lot of shaking and rattling in the car, but I'm fine with that because I'm gonna come back to that later. I don't see this as like a first car choice. Right. And if you buy this as like a sporty, fun car, this is really good because it can teach you a lot about, you know, weight distribution and shifting the weight when you're braking, when you're turning, and it really gives you the opportunity to learn a lot, which something like an Elantra N like we had recently. It is so capable, it can mask some of the driver issues you might have. while this one will show them to you and make them easy to fix. And it's just a joy. Like, I love driving this. I'm a real. Very long gearing if you don't start in a low gear already. But it's a good time. It's a good time. But what I do stand by is my statements from when I had the hardtop Miata. This thing is incredibly fun.
Yep.
On the right roads. But when you're in traffic, when you're just commuting A to B, this is where this kind of loses some of its appeal because some of the other aspects do come out. But like a Mustang, a Camaro, which different pricing.
Of course,
to be
different
fair.
altogether.
But they are always special. They might not, you know, on the right roads, they might not just be as good as this in terms of like raw, dynamic, and fun. But even in traffic,
You get
if
the
I have a
sounds.
Mustang,
Yeah.
it's just there's like, I don't know, there's always a bit more to the experience, I find. That being said, I was commuting in this all week. I blasted with the top down, like AC/DC and all the good stuff. It's just hilarious.
It's a vibe.
It's a vibe. I'll tell you. And Bob Seeger, it's just.
You see other Miata drivers, you wave to them, they wave back.
Yeah, he waved back.
We
and
had that
he's
happen
so
today.
happy.
We had that happen today. It was great.
No, it's honest. It's a very unique driving experience that not many cars these days will deliver to you. I imagine this is probably something that like a 60s British roadster would have maybe like felt like. This is much faster,
Right.
obviously, than they are. But it's just something that a lot of cars these days are missing, and that's this raw engagement and fun. Steering, you mentioned earlier, is really good.
Yeah.
It's very precise and direct, and there's a good amount of feedback. I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel every bump in the road,
Right.
but I know exactly what my front wheels are doing. As soon as I start approaching the limit, I can kind of feel the limit approaching in the steering itself.
I feel like that might have to do something with the size of the vehicle as well.
Yes, definitely. It's also super light. We're looking at 2,300 pounds,
Wow.
which is nothing. In today's world, that's nothing. I think the next smallest or like lightest car was probably like 3,200 pounds.
Most batteries weigh that much these days.
Yeah,
Literally.
literally. And it's just, it's a nice back to basics throwback that I am glad still exists and people still buy.
When are we getting an EV Miata?
I think they're actually working on something hybrid EV.
I feel like that's kind of like,
I don't
it's
know how
almost like an oxymoron, right?
It is, and I don't know how they're going to manage that. But
Where do you even put the battery?
no trunk.
Yeah. Well,
Just
they're
put a
basically-
big battery pack.
Speaking of trunk, I mean, there basically isn't a trunk.
4.6.
4.6, yeah.
4.6 cubic feet. I think it's had the extra shift in there,
Oh, yeah.
and it's still quite potent actually. It's still quite potent, and it's Bridgestone potentials on it. It's not too potent though, which I like.
No, it's not.
You can get it loose. You can have fun at it. It's not lap time oriented. But sorry, back to the trunk.
Yeah, you're not going to see any Mafia people buying this car.
Yeah, like
there's no bodies going in that trunk. So.
We try to fit me in as we usually do, and I think I might have been able to get in there, but it was sketchy to get out. So I was like,
claustrophobic.
yeah, I didn't want to call 911. It's like, hey, sorry, we're stuck in a Miata truck. So yeah, we let that slide. We just about fit all of our gear in there, like just about. If we fit it into a certain order, oh man.
And before the haters come out of the woodworks, yes, if you and one other person want to go on a road trip with this car, you can do it.
Yes.
It's not ideal, but it can be done.
It can be done, but if everybody in the car, all two of you, are willing to compromise a little bit.
And pack really light.
Yes. Speaking of compromise, I enjoy this, but I'm willing to compromise for the sake of this video and let you drive if you want. That was a terrible segue. That was a horrible segue.
Cut. All right, now that we got a true professional behind the wheel.
Yeah, I'm hearing it. Like, legit, guys. Jessie has never really driven a manual car on the road.
Super stressful, actually.
Yeah, so cut him some slack, okay? We're learning. And this is kind of the prep car for when we drive some more fun and more...
Camaros.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. But you've been doing extremely well. Like, honestly, 2 thumbs up from me. Of course, because he has a good teacher. But yeah, we didn't talk about brakes yet.
They're great.
Yeah, so
unlike a lot of cars we've driven lately that have had like mushy brake pedals.
Yeah, like there wasn't really much feedback. I remember we had the EQE last week, which was kind of horrible in terms of like the worst brakes. And then getting into this, and literally the first time I got to a stop, I was like, oh, I can actually gauge where we're going to stop. This is really nice. Instead of the EQE just kind of stopping whenever it might want to. But
sorry, I was too busy sending it through that corner.
Yeah. Is that a Miata? No, it's Audi.
We're just waiting to see Miata so we can wave.
I want to wave, say hi to the Miata.
It's the brotherhood.
Exactly.
Quick downshift and send it. Oh yeah.
It's just nice.
Woo!
It just feels good, this car. It just feels good.
Come on, guys. You know I drive it better than Eric.
We gotta go to a racetrack.
Yeah.
And set some lap times just to settle this once and for all.
So what haven't we talked about?
So we wanted to quickly, just wanted to quickly touch on the manual because you haven't driven manual much.
Yeah.
You've driven, like the last time you've driven a manual was briefly in the Integra.
And that was very forgiving.
That was very forgiving. This is a little more direct, but I would still say it's adaptable enough that newer drivers can get used to it.
I'm proof, right? Like
Yeah.
this, I could see this car being like a cool first car for like a younger, like late teens, early 20s.
I would totally take it.
It'd be a very, very cool first car.
Right? Talk a bit more daily driving though. It is not the quietest.
No, I mean, obviously right now we have the top down, but even with the top up, it's one of the noisier cars that I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And of course with convertibles, you're gonna have more noise naturally, but this kind of takes it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a very raw experience, and that also includes kind of the worst parts, I guess, which is, you know, if you're on the highway, you're doing your highway speeds, then you will need to talk quite loudly to be able to speak to your co-pilot, your passenger. And like I said, I've been listening to all sorts of stuff and just going on the highway. You just know you're the guy or girl with literally the best time out on the road. No one is gonna have more fun than you, even stuck in traffic. You're just vibing.
I think that should be the title of the video. I mean, it's a vibe.
It's a vibe.
That's literally what, like, the only way I could describe this car is it's a vibe.
That's a very good kind of comparison. Otherwise, tech-wise, yeah, we don't have anything. We have traction control.
We have technique, shifting technique. There's no tech.
Exactly. It's very raw. We have ABS.
Ooh, wow.
It's fully loaded. No, like honestly, I don't mind. I'd rather them not include all the tech and keep the price fairly low than put on like $4,000 on tech.
And weight and all that extra stuff.
Exactly. Which leads us over to price. This mid-trim Miata soft top, as spec, comes out at $44,465 Canadian.
Not cheap.
It isn't cheap.
It's up there, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm like, when I had the hard top trim 2 years ago, that was 45, so that's gonna be quite a bit more now. I was saying, just get the soft top, get a mid-trim. This is not a car you want to top spec out. Just get it, basically, the least amount of features you can live with.
Right.
And then just enjoy the car. And that's what we have here. That being said, $44,500 is still quite chunky.
I'd like to see this in the high 30s, personally.
Yeah, that would definitely make it an easier,
38.
especially if we look at Rikers. An Elantra N with a manual clocks in at 40.
Right.
Which,
and again, they're not really, you can't really compare them. They're different vehicles, right? You're talking a sedan versus...
Yeah, but like, I mean, the Elantra was a lot of fun.
It was.
It was
practical.
A lot more practical.
Really good trunk space.
Really good trunk space, great seats.
More powerful.
More powerful.
More tech.
You can have it with a manual. Where I'm just kind of like, yes, you're missing out on the convertible aspect. Yes, it's not quite as raw as this and there. It's just, you really have to want a raw experience or the cop-down experience for this to make a lot of sense. If you're just looking for a fun sports car, second car, there's not much really better than this if you're looking for raw, a dynamic.
And you don't want sheer power.
Exactly. You don't want to go to jail instantly. You don't have a good lawyer.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. No, concluding, I love the Miata. It's an amazing vehicle. Every time I get to drive one, I'm just super happy. It's a vibe, like you said.
It's a cool lesson for me, like learning this, driving it for the first time.
And I think everyone should, like every car enthusiast should have driven a Miata at some point. Because
sure.
it's one of the iconic vehicles, and it's really important to gauge other cars.
It brings you back to basics.
Exactly. With that being said, thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video.
If you guys did enjoy the video, obviously like, subscribe, hit that bell because we're dropping a new video every week. And I am going to downshift and I'm going to send it to say goodbye to you guys.
There we go. See ya.
Like, I think as a first car for like a teen,
Miata.
I think it's like a first car for like a teen.
Yes! Shoe fag. Alrighty, Miata time. One of the most legendary sports cars in the world. Why are we testing it, Jesse?
What did you say?
Why?
I didn't know. Why are we testing it?
Yeah.
Why not? It's a weird question.
I was trying to set you up to be like, because I don't know.